And here we are. There you are. Are you ready? What are we doing here? It is the Big O. That's what we're talking about. Of course, I mean opportunity. Today is all about seizing opportunity in your business, understanding which opportunities to grab and which to let slide. And furthermore, how in the world do you position yourself to attract the most perfect opportunities for you? All that and more today. It is the On Air Brands Masterclass. It's Josh Carey. It is Eric Cabral.
Hello.
What is doing?
Love it, love it, love it. That is amazing and very succinct. Thank you so much for that, Josh. I just wanted to remind everyone who's watching, who's listening, that this is an interactive session. This is not a podcast. This is not something that you should hesitate to jump in and provide comments, answers, questions, whatever it is that you want to share, an interactive session. So please make comments and we will address and answer, or if you have answers for us, we'd love to hear. We're really, really excited for today because we're actually bringing on a close friend, partner and confidant named Justin Fraser. So we're going to bring him on in a little bit, but he has a ton of experience, knowledge in connecting and making opportunities and finding and identifying opportunities. But speaking of opportunities, we have an amazing event, a really unique event that people can be a part of. It's called PodMax Global. And global, meaning it's virtual. We have people literally from Australia, people from the UK. We have a huge tribe of podcasters and entrepreneurs that are joining us and are a part of us. So please jump in, check it out, podmax.co. Or if you want some on-the-fly tips or on-the-fly notifications, you could text PodMax at 33777. And there it is. We got it on the bottom there. And yeah, we're bringing people in, sign up. We're super excited because we have James Orsini, who is the president of the Sasha Group, which is a Gary Vaynerchuk, a VaynerX company. So he's got a wealth of knowledge he's going to share for small to mid-sized businesses and how they help six-figure, seven-figure, eight-figure companies scale up and get to the next level. So we as entrepreneurs could use all the help we can get in leveling up. And that's what this is here, and that's why you're here, and we're really, really honored for you to be watching, and we're ready to share with you. So let's do this.
Absolutely perfect. And you are in the right place. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, if you are someone who knows that you have a meaningful message inside to get out to the right people. It's all about activating your audience, getting them to take the action you most desire. First, how do you get them to pay attention? How do you get them to know you exist? Then, how do you get them to care, right? They have to sort of care what you're talking about and who you are. And then finally, how do you motivate them and get them interested in buying your offer? So it's getting their attention, growing their interest, and motivating them to buy what you are offering. And this masterclass, this video today, it continues the 4 C's that we have. It is connection. Eric, you want to give a quick overview of what all 4 are in context?
So here it is on screen. The first one we covered was clarity and finding clarity in your message, right? So you want to get out there with consistency and clarity when you're talking about what it is you do and who you are. So the next thing, as you continue to do that and consistent with that, a community will eventually and organically grow. So then you foster that community by adding value and helping the community and giving all the things that you've learned along the way. So then you start to grow that to the next step, which is this. We're here. We're going to talk about connection. And, it's not just about networking. It's much, much more complex. We're going to try to keep it as simple as possible so that's easy to digest. But it's not about networking. It's about, like Josh said earlier, identifying opportunities. And what is an opportunity? And is that person that you're shaking hands with an opportunity for you or an opportunity for them? So identifying those things first, but then also peeling the layers back. How do you create opportunities. We're going to get into that. How do you put yourself in the best light so that you present yourself and your most authentic self and the person that people will look at to help them do what it is they're trying to accomplish? We're going to get into working on yourself, like I said, your genuine message, habits, and rituals, which really is integral to creating that connection with people and vibrating at a certain frequency so that people will understand, oh, you and I are vibing and we're going to connect and we're going to connect. You get
Eric,
it? So
you're speaking my language, bro. You're speaking my language.
But I'm focusing on this one because this is what we're going to talk about. But collaboration is obviously the next step, and we're going to talk about that next week, next Friday at 11. But really, it's all about habits and rituals and being prepared for the opportunities as they present themselves, because I am a firm believer of there's no such thing as luck. I cringe when someone says to me, hey, good luck. Because it's not about luck. It's about me being prepared. I was prepared for that opportunity when it presented itself. This is me busting. This is myself grinding it out so that when time comes, I'm ready. I'm ready to hit that mile. I'm ready to hit the bricks because I was prepared. And each and every day through habits and rituals and doing all the things that you need to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, we're going to talk about now. So yeah.
So what I just adore is that I love that it starts within. It starts with you. You have to come to the table. You have to take the responsibility through your mind game and your habits and rituals, physical game as well. I love going back to one of my new favorite quotes that's become really a mantra of life that I've embraced. I heard Jim Rohn first say it, and the way he puts it is like this. You do not achieve success. Success is not something you achieve. Success is something you attract. First, you have to become the person who is capable of attracting the success you desire. Swap out the word opportunity for success in this context, and you see what we're talking about. Very much case in point. The very fact that I am sitting here right now having this dialogue with you and that I am hitched and partnered with Eric in this brand, in this company, is the ideal case study for myself of how this happened. I will take you back briefly. A few years ago, I started my brand, The Hidden Entrepreneur. There's a whole other story with how and why I took that leap. But I had no idea where that was going to lead. I just knew the big O was going to be my best friend, opportunity. Along the way, I would take action and look and grab and become the person I need to attract the opportunities and success that I most desire. Jump to a year ago. I found myself at an event that really I had no business being at if I wasn't already the person deliberately who was capable of being there and attracting the success and opportunities that I desire. So I was at this event a year ago. Eric also happened to be at the event. We had no idea who each other were. I had the honor of interviewing him on my show. One thing led to another, and that we then had a conversation where Eric said, I have a podcast studio in New Jersey. Why don't you come down, check it out, and we'll go from there. We'll see what's what. Maybe it can be your podcast studio, he said. Exactly. Now, obviously, we see that opportunity presented itself. I grabbed it. He put it out. I grabbed it. And now here we are. A lot of in-between things. But the biggest point I want to make is that conversation, forgetting about the fact that I never would have found myself at that event to begin with if I wasn't already becoming the person I needed to be to attract the success and opportunities I most wanted. Eric would not have even thought of having that dialogue with me to say, why don't you come down? Why don't you come over? Why don't you, if I wasn't that person, if I wasn't there.
Absolutely. I love that story. And thanks for highlighting that as what we did there and what everything that you did and highlighted is connection. And really quickly, and we're going to bring Justin on in just a second. The same thing. I want to introduce my brother from another mother here, Justin, who we appreciate him in any capacity. So we appreciate him for this, coming onto our masterclass here and sharing with you, the audience, because you're going to learn a ton from him and through the stories that we've experienced, as individuals and together. But Justin and I connected the same exact way, Josh, where through opportunities of connecting online and then meeting in person, seeing that there's a vibe there, and then that vibe, through helping each other, never asking for anything in return, just giving to each other. We realized we're the same. We're cut from the same cloth. We have an abundance mindset, and we grew a bunch of businesses. We started a business coaching company. We started partnering in real estate deals, and then we started on-air brands, and we started building all these things together because the opportunities were there and the connections were there, and we understood what was there for us, like I said, as opportunities and ways that we can grow. So since I met Justin, he was a single family real estate investor, and he has flourished to this massive being that's just property. He's an asset manager for over 700 units. He's the founder of 88 Real Estate Capital, and he's started his own podcast called True Multifamily, where he gets to highlight the stories, the real true stories of what happens behind the scenes, not all the fluff and not all the woo-woo stuff, but the real stuff that happens behind the scenes when you become an investor. So without further ado, I want to bring my man, Justin Fraser, to the table. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, guys. Great to connect with you today. What is happening?
I love it, man.
How are we today?
Wonderful.
I love the energy. I love the energy already. Starting it off great. What's happening?
Yeah. So the reason I think the people are going to really, really understand the power of connection, especially with you, Justin, because I think we are perfect walking examples. Josh and I and all the three of us are perfect examples of individuals that see the light and see the opportunities to do something bigger than themselves. So Justin and I met through Bigger Pockets. He gave to me. I showed up to an event and I said, hey, how can I help you? Literally lifting tables and chairs and speakers. And example there is showing what you are willing to do. Being completely humble. I was coming from a 6-figure salary as an executive in corporate America. I was moving chairs around, folks. I came to Justin, who's much younger than I am. And I said, hey, how can I help you in any way? It didn't matter because I wanted to learn how to be a real estate investor. He was an investor, and everything happened from there, from that one seed, from that one action. So, Justin, take us back, take us to a story, that one, other ones where you found ways so that people realize the power of recognizing opportunities and then planting that seed and watering it.
Well, I want to go back to a lot of what you guys were saying when I was in your green room sipping on all those great refreshments you provided me prior to the show. Really top notch. This is a great organization, guys. You guys really take care of me.
You got the M&Ms.
Got the green M&Ms only, the nice hot coffee, the lattes. Beautiful. All great stuff.
Well, Justin, you provided us a rider to the contract like never before.
Yes. Yeah. No, exactly. I have very specific needs. You guys took care of all of them.
We got
top-notch organization here.
We know what you know. We know what you love.
While I was listening to that, you guys said a few things. You said abundance mindset, okay? And what, to me, that is the foundation of what good connection and communication actually comes from. It's that abundance mindset. It's the mindset that there's enough for you and there's enough for me. And by me putting more out, you're going to get more out, right? And by you coming and adding more, I'm going to get more. And so that's the foundation for me is always starting with that abundance mindset. And sometimes that's hard when you're getting started because you don't know where that's going to go or end up. When you don't know like this action is going to result in that ROI or that result. Me going to, Josh going to that podcasting event is going to result in him being integrated in on-air brands and doing all this great stuff. Like, there was no like clear line drawn for you getting into that and now doing this. And so, but you had the right mindset. You had the mindset of, I'm going to go in with a mindset of abundance. I'm going to go check out the studio. Eric is not like, oh, this is my studio, you can't come down here. He is open and sharing. And so you start with that foundation. And I think the people that have that foundation are going to be the most successful, and the ones that are going to go through this masterclass and absolutely succeed and excel, because you have to have that before you even start. So let's get that out of the way. Great. Love it. The next thing is action. So we're talking about connection, and connection is not just you emailing me and me responding and now we've connected, or you're spamming me on LinkedIn and I say, okay, I'll accept you as a connection, right? That's not, yes, digitally we might be connected on LinkedIn, but we don't have a connection between the two of us. There's a lot more, and it goes a lot deeper. So to start with Eric's example, you were telling this great story where I was running a meetup, a real estate meetup. You wanted to learn about real estate. And this is something I'm always saying is, if you want to connect with people in real estate specifically, because that's the industry I'm in, but it works for any industry, go to the person who's running the groups, running the meetups, who's organizing these things, because they are natural connectors. If you're the person at the front of the room that put everything together, if you're the person that created the masterclass or created the networking meeting or created whatever is going on, naturally you're going to be a connector. So that's the person that you want to connect to. So Eric came to me and said, hey, I've got, I want to learn. I've got a lot of questions. Eric, I think, had started reaching out to me online and asked me some questions. And I said, cool, come out to our meeting, right? And so there's this level of like, I am really big on in-person connections. And obviously we can't do that always because, we connect with people all over the globe, but where possible, it's like, oh, great. You're 20 minutes down the road. Come to this thing I'm doing next Wednesday night, right? Come see it. Come be part of it. Come chat with me, right? And so the same thing where Eric comes in and he hangs around and he starts, moving chairs or helping out, just like a mindset of like, no chip on your shoulder, no ego about, I used to be an executive or whatever. I didn't even know that about him. All I know is he wants to learn about real estate. He came and is helping me, set up or take down chairs or whatever. Well, maybe we should grab a beer afterwards and chat, right? And this guy is clearly here to help. He wants to be part of it. So I'll give some of my time. Let's have a conversation. And it's not a charity thing. That's how you start to build connections. And so that model of like adding value in some small way to build a connection, to build a conversation, to give you the platform for the conversation, I think is how I've done a lot of my connections. And so anything from finding a real estate broker. So if you're looking to buy a multifamily apartment, like the way I do, the best way to buy one, I think, is to find a broker who is selling one, right? But brokers, generally, if they put it out on the internet, it's like everyone's looking at it. It's very picked over. It's usually not that great of a deal. There are good deals, but not that great of a deal. So what you want is to be in the inner circle. You want to be the guy that gets the email the week before it goes out to the blast, to the masses, right? How do you get on that? You have to make a connection with that person. So when I first went to go buy apartment complexes, I had to make connections with brokers in all these states. By the way, I did this like 6 to 8 hours away from where I live. And so my challenge was, how do I build a connection with these brokers that is not superficial, that allows me to, oh, thanks, Jake. How do I build that connection that allows me to go beyond the superficial, like, yeah, we're connected on LinkedIn and I know he's looking for apartments, but he's just on my mailing list. I don't want to just be the guy on the mailing list. I want to be the guy you call when you get a hot lead. The way to do that is to get in front of people and to show up and to add value. And so for a broker, what they generally want is for you to come look at the properties they have for sale. They want feedback on those properties. And so I would meet with brokers. I tell them what my property criteria was. And it starts by them sending you what they send everybody. And you know what? You've got to go through it. You go through it. You go to the properties. You go look at it. You give feedback, actionable, very specific feedback. This deal doesn't work because of the price per unit or because of the amount of renovation required or the location. But you give specific feedback to the broker. You've taken the time. I've taken days off of work. I'm driving 6 hours. I'm meeting with them. I'm touring the property they want me to see, and I'm giving them feedback. That's all they can ask for, right? If it doesn't fit my criteria, I can't make an offer. That's fine. Maybe I will make an offer. Maybe I won't. But I'm going through the action steps of putting the work in and building a relationship with this broker now, right? And so after we go to the property, after I say, hey, it doesn't work out, or maybe it will work out, I'm going to take this guy out to dinner too. And I'm going to say, thank you. I'm going to bring you, I drove 6 hours to look at this thing that's going to get you a commission, but you know what? I'm buying dinner. I'm going to take you out. It cost me what? $50. I'm going to buy you a drink, buy you dinner. We're going to chat. We're going to build a relationship face to face, right? Because I'm telling you what I'm looking for. I'm telling you why this property doesn't work for me. I'm telling you what my hopes and dreams are, my goals are, how my process works. I'm building a connection in person. So then when I leave and I go home and that deal didn't work out, but maybe 6, 8, 10 weeks later, another deal comes up and we do the same thing. And I take off of work and I would drive down and we do the same thing. And by the way, we'd go out to dinner again. And we're building relationship. We're making a connection. I'm providing value in terms of my very specific feedback on the property. He's providing value by finding me properties, right? And so over time, you build this relationship. And then after 3 or 4 times of doing that, guess what? I get a phone call that says, hey, this is not a property that has not gone out to market. It's exactly what you're looking for. It's exactly what you've told me you're looking for, except that, this one parameter is off, but I think it's going to work great for you. And you know what? I ended up buying that property. It was my first apartment complex because I made a connection with the broker because he knew by me showing up, repeating, adding value to him adding value to me. We made that connection. I went down and made the offer and got it under contract without it ever getting marketed, mass marketed, right? Because we made a connection. So that just showing up, doing some of the hard work, you can't always do it online. You have to add value. Allowed me to buy my first apartment complex.
Love that. So many nuggets there, Josh. Did you have anything? Because I took notes.
Yeah. A few of the things I'm hearing is that this is a long game that starts today, right? You shouldn't, you can't, and you won't expect immediate results, although you might get soon and quick chances to see opportunity and grab it. It also is about having such a clear vision, clarity on your goals, your wants, your dreams, desires, and start looking for the opportunities out there. You really have to consciously look for them. Do you guys believe that this is something that you should and could? It's like a muscle, right? The more you do it, the more you get better at. And we're talking about positioning yourself. So not only stepping up, and as Eric said, it's not luck, but when things start appearing, you become better and better at identifying. That's a little bit of a muscle that you can work at. Yeah,
absolutely. And it comes back to that mindset that we talked about, right? Because guess what? When I first started going to those meetings that I was running, I was the guy lifting chairs and moving tables for the person that I wanted to learn from, right? And so it all rolls downstream, but that's how I started. And so you can start on a very small level of like, I want to go to this meeting and they probably need help setting up. So maybe I can help them, add value to them by moving some chairs around, right? But that's a great way to flex that muscle, to your point, Josh, is that it starts by not saying, well, what am I going to get out of this? What is my return on moving that table? Well, I don't know, right? Maybe nothing ever, but at least you're flexing that muscle, but you're building connection with the people that say, oh, yeah, that's Josh Carey. He always runs around here, scampering around. He's always helping. Yeah, let's bring him over and let him have drinks with us and ask him to stay late or get his opinion on something. Or, you know what, I got a deal that meets his criteria, right? So by being around and adding that value, flexing that muscle, you're right. The opportunities will present themselves because you're now able to see them when they show up.
I want to add, there's a ton of stuff I wanted to highlight, but bouncing or springboarding off what you just said, it takes a level of self-awareness for you to be able to step into a room or any situation to understand what value you're adding. So, for example, I'm going to use our producer, Jacob Riznicki, who we all know and love. He stepped into the circle and he wanted to provide value. So, granted, he's much younger, so he's figuring himself out. He's figuring things out. So he showed up to each and every event, right? And we asked, what are you good at? Justin specifically said, what are you good at? And he had a bunch of questions or answers. And we were like, you know what? It doesn't sound like you're really clear on what it is you can do really well. Why don't you hang out with us for a little while and we'll help you identify what that is? And history in the making, boys and girls, because we found out what his superpower was, and now he's eating it up. He's chewing it up. We throw with the things at him like this right here. He's producing, he's creating, he's doing a bunch of stuff. So there it is on the other side, where if something steps to you, if something presents itself, identifying, oh, this is an opportunity to help them, and then they help you, and an opportunity for the other person. But I want to rewind to what Justin was saying before when he was just sharing a ton of wonderful stuff. You talked about getting to the person in front of the room, right? Whether it's physical or it's virtual, the one who's organizing the event, getting to the guy or gal that is doing that, because that is the person that's figured some things out and probably has the most connections to help you. So then also, once you make that connection, you want to be very aware of how do I quickly get into their inner circle, right? So there's many ways to do that.
So good, Eric. So good. That
Thank
phrase.
you.
How do I get into their inner circle?
How do I get in? How do I become a part of what they're doing? Well, that's adding value. Perfect example I said with Jacob. He got in and he showed his value. He showed his hunger and his passion for what he wanted to do. And that was to excel as an individual and to also help others as he levels up, right? So getting into the inner circle that Justin mentioned, that is key also. And then once you're in that inner circle, how do you stand out from other people? What is it about you? Like Justin did with that broker. He stood out by showing up and sitting there literally and buying steak dinners. Quick story with Matt Faircloth, who is a partner of ours and a dear friend. He has a lot of people reaching out to him, right? How does he cut through the noise? Well, I wasn't worried about that. I was worried about how I could stand out. And I literally showed up on Christmas Day or the day of Christmas Eve with a bottle of what? His favorite alcohol, his Jack Daniels, because I paid attention and saw he had a locker in a nearby restaurant with that said DeRosa Group on it, his company, and I can see inside what type of bourbon he liked.
Nice.
I went and I bought it and I handed it to him. And it's history there. You have to make connections and find ways to stand out. For Justin, I created a video for him. He didn't ask for it. He didn't expect it. And it was his company at the time. And he was like, holy crap, look at this thing that he created. I don't know what it's worth, but it's worth a ton for me. Stand out amongst the crowd. Figure out how you can connect with people on a different level. If you're not great at connecting through conversation, do it through action. Doing it. What's that book that we talk about with the 5 languages of love or whatever?
The love language.
Yeah. So find out maybe if through conversation what it is that will resonate with them. Do they love gifts? Do they love words? What do they need that I can help to sort of stand out so that they can really figure out I am the person that should be in their world.
And I want to clarify something on this because, and it's something that that I practice, and Jason Pfeiffer recently, our buddy Jason Pfeiffer was talking about, is you don't want to approach someone and say, how can I help you? Because that is actually putting work on that person. That's putting a burden on that person to figure out what you are good at and what I need and figure out how to match that up. It's a lot more effective if you, as a person that wants to help, can see what's going on, what this person is doing. In our very basic example, this person is running a meeting and has to set up tables and chairs. So instead of Eric approaching me and saying, hey, how can I help? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? I'm like, I don't know what you're good at.
You have to see it.
Just show up and start helping, start adding value, right? When I showed up, I started running the check-in table because guess what? No one likes to run the check-in table. So I started running the check-in table, right? And it's just like I didn't ask. I just wiggled my way in and started doing it and adding value without putting the burden on someone else. And that makes that connection even that much stronger.
That is such a powerful thing. Go back, rewind those last 60 seconds and take it to heart. For the entrepreneur tuning in, that is so important right there. Another thing I want to bring up, Eric, you mentioned such great relevant points. Self-awareness is and always will be key. The more self-awareness you have, everything is going to improve and increase. Knowing your worth and your value, becoming just a little bit more comfortable with the uncomfortable. We all have a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling reaching out or putting ourselves out there or knowing and letting everybody know what we are capable of. But that's what it takes. So the more you can inch towards that, the better. Know full well your strengths, your value, and what you are capable of, even if it's one thing. Case in point, tying all this together, the way Eric and I crossed paths, the fact that I should not have been at that event to begin with, where we met, is everything. Here's what happened. I was scrolling Facebook, minding my own business, and I saw a post for an event that was happening in 10 days from that time. 10 days, not a lot of time. I knew I didn't want to attend the event. I wanted to be part of the event on the other side of the table. I wanted to be one of the speakers, one of the presenters, one of the podcast hosts of the event, right? That's what I was drawn to. I didn't know the creator. I knew the creator's brother. Oh my God, this is fantastic. So I reached out to the brother and I said, hey, I see what your brother is doing. I just want to be a part of this. Can you get me in touch? He put us in touch that afternoon, and now the ball was in my court. I knew the value that I was able to bring. This is key. You have to have the confidence and the knowledge, like Justin said. What can you do? Not, hey, how can I help? I don't know. I'm busy. You're right. You figure it out. But I knew darn well what I wanted, how I wanted to participate, and how I could add value to the event. So I sent the creator, his brother, an email and just said, basically, I see what you're doing. I love this event. I want to be part of it. This is what I can do. This is who I am. This is what I'm capable of. I would love to just be part of it in any way possible. He said, let's talk. We got on a phone call and I was confident enough in what I could bring to the table. And again, because it was only 10 days away, I said, in all honesty, I just want to be in the room. So if there's anything I can do, this is what I can do. This is what I would love to do. But I know it's late in the game. So if there's any way I could just get in the room, I'll serve coffee, I'll sweep floors, right? I'll do anything. I'll take pictures, anything. And he said, well, ideally, what would you want to do? I carved my own path. I defined what I ideally wanted to do, which was be part of it at a high level because I knew my worth. I knew the value I can bring. It was uncomfortable, but that's what you have to do to keep inching and pushing forward to not only create more opportunity, but to grab that opportunity that presented itself and said, I'm going for this. He said, fine. Yeah, of course, you could do that. Let's do this. And there we go. That was the huge win. That was the event Eric and I met at. So again, that little story, if I didn't take any number of those actions to get in touch with the creator, to push myself specifically and with best foot forward and to get on the call and to tell him confidently who I am, what I'm capable of, he never would have felt inspired to say, yes, come to that event. And we wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be in bed eating Cheetos right now.
Let me just jump in on that because there was there's a point in your conversation where he said to you, I wrote this down. Yeah. Ideally, what would you do? If you would do anything, what would your ideal be? And if you don't have a good answer to that question, you say, "Oh, I don't know. I could sweep floors, I could drink coffee, I could whatever." Like that, you're not going to propel yourself forward in the way you want to be propelled. So the other side of communication is knowing what you want and knowing how to match what your wants are versus your ability and what they need as well. And so when he asked you that, you got your foot in the door, you made that first connection, and then he gave you an opportunity and you seized it because you knew exactly what you wanted. So it's absolutely critical that when we all are ready for that question, and I might have a dozen different things that I want and for a dozen different conversations that I have. So I have to know before I go into a meeting or before I go into a networking meeting or a conversation, I have to know, if someone says, well, how can I help you? Which is a amazing question that everyone should be asking, by the way, when you're getting off a phone call or, anything I can do to help you out is such a powerful tool. But you also have to be able to answer that question, not just ask it. And so if Eric asks me, what can I do to help you? I might have a very different answer or something because I know what he's good at than if Josh asked me that question or if Jake asked me that question or any other dozen of people. So I have to be prepared going into that conversation knowing, all right, and I do this, by the way, I do this before every networking meeting I go to, every conference I go to, every event I think about. It's like visualizing, I've heard athletes like talk about how they play through the game ahead of time, right? And they know all the moves they're going to make. I do my version of that, which is I think about who's going to be there, who are the speakers. If I got a minute alone with the cash flow ninja at this meeting, what do I want to ask him, or what can I offer him? And if he graced me with the opportunity to say what could he do for me, what would my ask be? And I think through that on all different kinds of people, right? Because the worst thing that can happen is you've gone through all the work and you've made that connection, and then someone says, well, how can I help you? And you just drop the ball and you just fumble it, right? And because that will then lead to point 4 of the masterclass, which is the collaboration and the working together, right? So that's the bridge there to get from 1, 2, 3, and then to 4.
100%. A few things I want to quickly highlight, and I want to answer some of the questions that are coming through. So folks, when you go to a meeting or you go to a conference, you go to a meetup, and there's always going to be, hopefully you're at a good meetup, an opportunity where whoever is hosting the event is going to ask the crowd, does anyone have anything they want to share? I'm telling you, because Justin and I run meetings, 9 out of 10 people don't take action on this. This is an opportunity to connect with people in the physical space that you're in, not virtually. Yes, it's easy to go, hey, how are you? Yeah, this is me on a chat. But hey, I know everyone's scared. I know it's the top fear is public speaking, but take that opportunity, take that leap, that advantage, the opportunity to speak what it is you're looking for and connect with someone in the room. I just wanted to highlight that because Justin he's going to go there. But yes, that is an absolute opportunity for you, and recognize it when it presents itself. I also wanted to show, because we got a lot of potatoes. I want to give some of the meat because people love what we're hearing. They love the stories. But how do we give them the tools to take actionable steps? So self-awareness, that is a thing that is thrown around. One of the things that I highly suggest doing if you want to take this exercise is text the 12 closest people to you, your friends, your family. These have to be people who know you well. And to ask them, hey, what do you love about me most? What do you think are my strengths, my superpowers? And also, please be absolutely blunt with me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Don't worry about hurting my feelings, but what am I terrible at? What do you just know I'm the worst at doing? And it may take some time because some of them may not want to be completely honest with you, but I'm telling you that will help you to identify what it is you're great at and what it is you're not so great at. So what are some of the other tools you guys can share with people in terms of maybe self-awareness or other tactics that could help people?
Yeah, I think self-awareness is easy to say and hard to do, and I love that tactic that you put out there. I remember when you texted me, it was like a random night, and you're just out of the blue, I got this text, and I didn't know you were going to do it. And you know what? It's great, and it's a really good really great tool. But I also think, self-reflection and
Yes.
figure, and I like to write down.
Mm.
I keep notebooks next to me all the time, because I actually do have a pretty bad memory. Eric and I were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, this is good too.
My memory is terrible, by the way. And if someone tells me something, chances are I'm going to get distracted by the next thing and forget it. And so, when I was working full time, I used to walk around all day long with a notebook in my hand. Doesn't matter if I was going to the bathroom, like whatever, like the notebook was with me, because what would happen is I'd get pulled into a conversation on the way back from the bathroom and someone would ask me to do something, or I'll follow up, and I'd forget. So every day things get written down. It's a very basic tool, right? And now I also have a lot online, as far as notes and everything goes. But I write down things, not only that my to-dos, but key points about the conversations that we have. And so for me, I might even make a note that, like, Eric mentioned that, he loves ribs or something, right? And then I might keep that in the back of my mind for next time I'm barbecuing ribs, right? He might get an invite. It can be something as simple as that, or family details, or information about their goals or dreams, or what they've done in the past, or what they're looking for. Because any nugget of information that you can get will provide you opportunity for further connection. So let's say that someone tells me, we're at a meeting, someone tells me they're looking for a house in some town I don't do business in. I've never, I've heard of it, but whatever. I'm not at all sorry. During that time, I don't know anything about that town. I really can't help you. But I know that Dave over there actually works in that town or knows people in that town. So let me at least make a connection for you and add some value. I can still add value without answering your direct question. And I can send you down the path of talking to Dave over there. And then 3 months from now, by the way, because we talked about it, and someone random will bring up a deal and say, oh, it's in that town. I'm like, I don't know anything about that town, but someone mentioned that town. I can go back and be like, oh yeah, Jimmy's doing work in that town. Let me make another connection for them. And by connecting others, you're actually connecting yourself as well.
So first, it starts with, like we say, gaining utter clarity on what in the world you want, really what you're going for, what your desires, your wants, your needs, your goals, your hopes, your dreams. Really consistently play that over and just get so clear on what you're going for, so it's in your conscious and then becomes into your subconscious. Then you're going to be able to start seeing all the things that are going to support that. And just like you said, Justin, learn to go, and I do this consistently, go about your day where there might be a tool, a resource, a person, a conversation, something that presents itself that you may not immediately need. It may not have anything to do with anything, but you're drawn to it. And you say, you know what? I'm just going to tuck that away, like you did with the notebook. Find a system, a process. It could be virtually a bookmark, an Evernote app, or whatever works for you on your computer, on your phone, a notebook, and just start collecting these things. And then over time, you're going to be able to pick from these. Going back to the self-awareness, it is so difficult. And that exercise, Eric, you brought up, is a little intimidating because of our darn ego, right? Nobody wants to hear, this is what you're bad at. This is what bothers me. This is what annoys me about you. This is what nobody likes. It's tough. So how do you do that? It starts with personal development, personal growth, personal responsibility. Take responsibility for who you are, what you're doing, and how you're showing up for the world for your benefit. I'm just speaking what I've been doing and what I know to be true. That works. Believe me, a few years ago, I was worse off than Woody Allen looks. I was the look of angst, right? I was anxious beyond belief. I was a small, weak person. Nobody wanted to be around me. Nothing worked. So I've worked because I made the choice to show up and say, I'm going to improve myself slowly but surely over time. I'm going to put myself out there. I found my why. I found my reasons. I found what I like. I found what feels good. I found my goals, my hopes, my dreams. And it all just seems to be something that I put in a big bowl and I'm just working with here. So in order to become more self-aware, you have to be able to put your ego aside, know full well who you are, how you're showing up, what you're good at, and say, give it to me. I trust you. What should I be doing a little bit less of that's not really working? And know that it's for your benefit.
Yeah. I love all that. There's a lot of self-work that needs to be done. Regarding this question here that Jake has, for someone who's introverted and isn't comfortable putting themselves in front of, especially someone who's a big personality or an influential person, what are some good ways to practice and flex those extrovert muscles? I think that it goes right back to that self-awareness and reflection and knowing what you're great at and being confident in that, so that when you do approach them and they do eventually ask that question, hey, if you want to help me, what are you good at? You can answer that question confidently because you know it for a fact. You know that you'll make a difference in their world. So I think it's really about just becoming confident in yourself and your capabilities will give you that swag when you do step up to someone. I
have something I can add to that.
Yeah,
too.
Please.
For me, Jake, if you can put that question back up, it's really, really great question. And it's something that, I used to and sometimes do still struggle with, because for everyone, there is the next level room that you're trying to get into. And so I remember sitting in the car before my, first networking meetings, and it's like, it's a local thing in New Jersey, but these were all big time investors that I wanted to meet and get to know, and being nervous about, what do I say? Who do I talk to? Should I even go to this thing? And now, for those meetings, I'm running it, but there's the next level meeting. And sometimes it's funny, that feeling will still come over me, even though I've gone to thousands of these meetings and done this so many times. It's like, oh, I recognize that there's this feeling. And that for me is key, is like acknowledging, and this goes to self-awareness, acknowledging that you're feeling that little bit of insecurity or doubt. I'm like, why am I doing this? Or should I be doing this? And for me, then I tie it back to my why, as Josh was just talking about his why, because it's a lot easier to do what you don't want to do or what you're uncomfortable doing when you can tie that directly to why you're doing it. So for me, right, a very quick example is I wanted to buy property for extra income to support my family. Mm-hmm. And so I tied walking into that room to more income for my family, right? And it's not a direct connection. It's not like I walk in and they hand me some cash in my pocket. It's a lot more work. But guess what? I can't buy those properties and I can't make those connections and I can't get that residual income until I walk in the room and I make those connections and I connect with the people that are going to help me get there. So for me, I just strip away all the fluff and say, if I don't go in there, I'm not going to accomplish my goal. And it's like, do this to get that. Do this to get that. And that's how I overcome it. And I'm just like driven forward and forget the introvertness and forget the uncomfortable. Recognize that you have that feeling, but push past it because your why is going to be strong enough for it.
It's also powerful to know that we all have insecurities. So if that does anything for anybody, we're all in the same darn boat. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, I was going to say that's really deep. And I hope people understand what Justin's saying, because it is a deeper sort of thinking and knowing and trusting that what you're doing now is going to pay dividends in the long run. And that's what this is all about too, is making those connections and fostering those relationships, knowing that over time, literally things that I've done 3, 4, 10 years ago come back and you're like, wow, it's because of this, and this that I did. I love the tools, you're saying, Justin, with the book. I use my note app, and I'm always constantly, because our brains can only store so much information, and it sounds very simple, and it is very simple, but it's a practice, it's a ritual, it's a habit that you have to get into when you meet someone to be able to take down the details that you have stored in short-term memory and make this this phone your long-term memory. So when you do start storing birthdays, which I hated when Facebook started alerting people, because that was one of my superpowers. It was like, hey, happy birthday. And people were like, how did you remember? I would write it down.
Not
And
anymore,
screw
right?
you, Facebook, even though we're on Facebook right now. But yeah, so that's the thing is if you can store these things, whether it's in your mind or in your phone, and be prepared when you know you're going to meet that person. If it's going to be on a Zoom call, have the notes up. Put it in your address book, whatever it is. And then you can start those conversations, and they will subconsciously think that they're closer to you because now you cared enough to know the name of their spouse, to know the name of their kids, to know what their goals were. Hey, how are you doing on that? So another example with Jake, there's a guy, Steve Seymour, who keeps coming. He's a part of our tribe. He comes through. Whenever he sees Jake every 6 months or so, he'll go, how's that project going, brother? Have you bought that house yet? He remembers Jake, and Jake really feels good about that. So I think that those go a long way, those little details that you pay attention to and remember.
Can I continue the Q&A?
Yeah, let's do the Q&A, but also wanted to remind everyone to engage, like, share, and then throw something in the comments so that we can chew on it. So
for the entrepreneur tuning in and listening, we understand there is, especially today's day and age, there is a plethora of ongoing opportunities that in various forms present themselves to you every moment of every day. So the question is two-part for you guys. I'd love your response on this. It's one, how do you know which opportunities to reach out and grab and move towards? And then B, with that opportunity, how do you know if it's working versus does it just need more time? So if you're in an opportunity, is it just not working or does it take more time? Do I bail? Do I stay? So the two-part, how do I know which opportunities and how do I know if it just needs more time?
Wow, that is a heck of a question.
It is a good question.
Yeah, really, really good. And that's me stalling for a minute so I can think of it.
Yeah, I had to think about it too. I know. Okay, so I think that for me personally is I go with my gut instinct, right? And the gut instinct has become quickly assessing the what's the best case scenario, what's the worst case scenario, and then what's the most likely scenario. So that is my gut and telling me that that is the most likely scenario, and if that feels safe and comfortable and something that I want and need, then I instantly within a split second say yes to that opportunity. Now, identifying whether an opportunity is it still needs more water and growth and time, I think is sort of the same thing. You have to kind of assess along that path and that journey what has become of it, whether and is it aligning with my why? Like Justin said, is it accomplishing? Are there certain things that are happening that are helping me to get to my destination? And if the answer is no, obviously you have to step away. Justin's always we are always talking about opportunities that we invest time and energy in, and we walk away from them eventually. And we talk about it, but usually we arrive at the same time. We look at each other and we go, I don't think that really needs, or we shouldn't be paying attention to that anymore. What are we gaining from that? Mm-hmm. So it's really just asking yourself the question when the time is right. And sometimes you may need, that's why you have to have team members and people around you that you trust so that you could bounce those questions off of them.
All right. I love everything you just said. Absolutely. I'll tell you a few things that I did recently. How do you know which opportunity to take on? Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't know because you don't know your why, or maybe you're confused, or you had. I'll get real with you guys. I got laid off from my job in the fall of 2018, and I didn't know what to do. Like, I knew I wanted to do real estate. I didn't have the portfolio I have now. I didn't know if that meant like I had to go buy another apartment complex, or I needed to partner with people, or like I didn't know. So I started saying yes to everything. Someone wanted me to coach them. I said yes. Someone wanted me to go drive to North Carolina to look at a property with them. I said yes. Somebody wanted me to spend an hour and a half, analyzing a deal with them. I said yes, 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 yes. Well, as you can imagine, pretty quickly, I ran out of time in my day. My goal was to say yes for a year. And I sat down and I made a plan, and I even wrote on my whiteboard. I said, I'm going to say yes for a year and just see what happens. And about 3 months in, I was out of time. I was spending time and energy on things that were not paying off, were not fun, were not enjoyable, were not helping people, didn't really jive with what I wanted out of my life or out of my business. But it actually helped me to define what I wanted out and to figure out, I had my why of my family, but the what, like, how am I even going to do this? So then I started saying no. And that actually became very, very powerful. So I went from yes, 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 yes for 3 months, and then said no, 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 no for the next 3 months. And I was able to rip out everything that wasn't giving me some kind of positive benefit that I wanted, whether it was more time with the family or an income or working with people I wanted to work with. And so I was able to just strip all that out. It's hard. It's hard to say no. I think it's harder to say no than it is to say yes. But for me, like, that was it was crazy powerful exercise that I didn't even know I was getting myself into. But 3 months of yes followed by 3 months of no resulted in 6 months later a pretty well-off business in the space I wanted to be in, which is apartment asset management. And so by saying yes to going on the trip with Matt to North Carolina, got me involved in that project, which led to the next project. And I realized, I'm marrying up my skills and my passions. And now I can go down this path that 3 months ago, I wouldn't even be able to write down and tell you what I wanted to do. So if you're feeling lost, if you don't have that strong why, right, start saying yes and try things, test things out. Now you have to be able to, your second point of your question, to be able to start saying no and to drop an opportunity when it's not jiving with what you need. And it's not just a blanket no. You can't just say no to everything, but if it doesn't fit your why, it doesn't fit your core values, if it's not making you the money you need to make, like sometimes it does come down to money and it's not about passion. Unfortunately, that's why most of us take jobs, because we need the money. But if you can go through that exercise, you can figure out where to say no. And it's very hard, especially if you've invested a lot of time building something. If you have gone down this path and you've brought energy in and you've publicly declared, I'm building this thing, I'm going this direction, I've sunk all this time and energy and money and effort into this thing, it's very hard to look at that thing and say, I can't do this anymore. It's not paying off for me. It's not resonating with me anymore. It's not giving me financially what I need. It's not giving me emotionally. It's not meeting my needs. But the key is you have to try to disassociate the sunk cost, right? No matter how much time and energy you put in, the question is, how will this help me moving forward, right? So I might have spent $100,000 building a business, but if it doesn't help me moving forward, maybe I need to really assess whether I need to cut it and move on to something that will accomplish my goals. And so it's very, very hard, but to think about not what I've spent, but what I'll get moving forward.
I love all that. And I want to highlight this, and also we want to land this bird shortly. So everything that Justin said is it hits home for you, or it hits home for us. And the thing is, energy, time, investment, all of that stuff that's spent and you can't get back is for me okay when you think about the things that you've built to get there. So number one, you clarified your message, right? You already identified what your story is. So no matter where or what happens to you, you have that message that still resonates. No one can take that away from you. So clarity. And then the next thing is what? Bring it back up, Judge. You took away my screen, man. Is the community that you've connected, the people that you've connected with during that time of putting your message out there. You still have that community regardless of what happens. And then the same thing here, connection. If, say, you had to walk away from an opportunity, you have your network that you've built, you have all the connections that you've made, and you can still foster those things along the way and leverage those things for the next big event, the next big project, right? So it's not all for naught. It's you can still take it and use it to your advantage down the road. So I always consider that. I always think, what have I built so far? What are all the wonderful things that have happened? And how can I propel, whether it's this, or this? It's always going to be for a reason, regardless if that particular thing didn't work out or not. So you have to look at the silver lining in things. So Josh, did you want to add anything as we come down here?
So you might be tuning in and seeing a common phrase throughout all of this. Everything we are presenting at the end of the day is simple, right? But it's not easy, okay? There is some work that you have to do, that you have to put out there, that you have to look inward and confront, that may be a little challenging. But guess what? That's what you're here. And I don't mean here in this conversation. I mean here in this damn world, in this life. That's why you're here, is to see what's possible and to experience. So you're tuned in here for a reason, because you want this. You are going for this. So become just a little bit comfortable with that fearful space, with that uncomfortability, inch by inch by inch, moment by moment by moment, and see how good of a life you could achieve. And what we're laying out for you are a variety of ways that you can start from wherever you are to step in to that person that you can become to attract the success you desire.
Awesome. Love it, and love you guys. Thanks, folks, for jumping into this masterclass. Our next one and final one of this series is next week, next Friday, May 15th. Is that correct? Yes, May 15th, next Friday at 11 a.m. right here, same time, same bat channel. And also, if you're interested in getting on podcasts and you want to share your story, you have that clear message, you have the community that you're building, what better way than to reach out to other communities, to reach out to other people and their tribes and leverage their platform to share your message. So podmax.co, that's podmax.co. We have a wonderful, wonderful panel that we're building to have discussions about the power of podcasting from both sides of the mic, as a guest or as a host. And then we have James Orsini, the president of the Sasha Group, which is a Gary V company, a VaynerX company. So he's going to shed a ton of light, share a ton of tips and strategies that they give to their Fortune 50 companies. So yeah, for $500, it's really insane that you're going to get access to James Orsini, who literally has clients that pay them 6, 7, 8 figures to get their advice. So folks, I hope that you sign up and you realize the value that we're providing, because it's a new launch and the price is actually definitely 100% going up for PodMax Global 2. So I jump in now at the opportunity. And Josh, are we giving away the extra 2 interviews? I guess now that I mentioned it, we're going to do the extra. Anyone who signs on this week, which is today, you're going to get 3 live interviews at PodMax Global, and then we're going to set up 2 extra interviews post-event. So, folks, I hope you were able to catch that by sticking to the end here. That is the golden nugget at the end. But, folks, thank you so much for jumping in, for being a part of the family and watching and looking for answers, because hopefully we provided them. And thank you to Justin Fraser of 88 Real Estate Capital and True Multifamily. Check out his podcast, which is a wonderful podcast.
Appreciate that.
No nonsense.
Happy to be here, guys. It was a lot of fun.
This is great.
Great to connect with you.
Great to connect with you.
That's
Thank you so
called
much,
full
folks.
circle. How you opened, how you closed.
That's
Love it. Love it. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next week. Bye.